Sup guys, and in this video we're going to be taking a look at the new Transformers Studio Series core class The Last Knight, MOHAWK. Now out of all of the other cool Decepticons from the 5th movie, Hasbro decided to start off with this guy, in which this character didn't really do much in the movie other than talk a lot.
Oh yeah, Decepticons is in the street. I'm letting y'all know what we came to do.
And get blown up.
This ain't right.
Yeah, he could have been used better. But nonetheless, the limitation of screen time that he had in the movie did not stop Hasbro. And besides Drift and Hatchet, this is the only bayverse figure that really is a new mold. A brand new mold at that, too. The rest are based off of other molds. And since this is the only new mold from the bayverse, Hasbro, of course, made it their mission to make it really good. After all, this is the only guy. And you know what? This may in fact be one of the best Studio Series core class figures out there. I mean, look at it. It almost looks like what he looked like in the movie. But before we take a look at the figure, let's take a quick look at his packaging. On the front of the box is just words and logos, as well as this nice little CGI rendition, artwork-ish sort of MOHAWK. On the top is the Transformers TLK logo, and on the bottom is all boring. On the side you get a little bit more view of the artwork of MOHAWK, and on the other side is a more zoomed in artwork of MOHAWK. And on the bottom of the back is all boring, but on the top you get a little bit more of a view of what you get inside the packaging in his alternate mode, which we will cover later in the video. That's enough of the packaging. That was getting boring anyways. Let's talk about this guy. So, first off, painting and sculpting, pretty good. I get this is all Games Workshop gray and everything, but a little usage of green isn't so bad, as well as some white painted onto the arm, but that doesn't really matter. The front is all nice and everything, whereas with the back is a little depressing. But it does appear as if there is some alternate mode kibble, as you can see the front of the bike, but it's not so bad. Oh, and that head sculpt looks nice too. Same thing with the MOHAWK. You know, to be honest, I've always find it funny that MOHAWK's eyes were just spread out like that, but this was supposed to be the comic relief, which was comically killed, so yeah, they have to make a lot of things comic, especially his eyes. Also, are these supposed to be knuckle claws or something? I mean, maybe. However, I don't remember him having knuckle claws in the movie. Perhaps it's just been a while since I've seen the movie. But anyways, I think it's time we start talking about his only accessory, that being a knife. I don't remember him walking around with a knife in the movie. I guess Hasbro had to come up with something, so they just came up with this. It looks good. I like it. And if you have Core Class Rise of the Beasts Noah, you could actually fit the knife onto his hand. So yeah, Noah would be dual wielded. Now to store the weapon, I have no idea. Actually, you see that little tab right there? Well, the sword just goes in over there because on the other side is a nice little slot. And this thing tabbed off because of the tiny little slot. But anyways, it just goes right there. You know, this figure's all accurate and everything, but I believe there's a knockoff company that made a more screen accurate version of this guy. But at the moment, this guy is available, whereas the other one not so much. Anyways, I think it's time we start talking about his articulation. So starting off, the head is only on a swivel, and if you want, you could use the hinge joint that's used for transformation as a way of moving his head up and down. Now, why is this guy on a swivel joint? Well, that's because so that way his head is easy to pop off. So you could replicate when he dies in the movie. Well, sorta. And since this is a 5mm port, what you could do is plug in anything that could connect it to a 5mm port, and yeah, you could do all sorts of stuff with this head. And then with the 5mm tab, you could just plug in an explosion piece or something. And the mouth is articulated. Well, at least the upper jaw moves up and down. That's to replicate how he moves when he talks. That's kind of funny. I'm not sure if this counts as articulation, but both of the wheels on the back over here are double hinged. You're going to have to move this down so you can allow a full rotation at the arm. And there is a hinge joint right there, which allows for an upward shift for his... Okay, that's not supposed to work. Double bend at the elbow, which allows the elbow to do a backward shift, which is very weird. And lastly, an arm swivel right there. No wrist swivel, and no waist swivel, and that's okay. Ball joints at the legs, which allows for a beautiful spread. The leg can also move forward, can move backwards, bend at whatever you want to call this type of knee. For some reason, they didn't allow another hinge joint over here, which could allow for a better chicken hinge. Ball joint at the foot, which allows the foot to move up and down, side to side, and a swivel. So yeah, that's pretty much it for articulation. Pretty impressive for a core class figure. Also forgot to mention that the quality is not too bad. Not too tight, not too loose, just right. Even after an erratic shake test, nothing seems to move, except when you drop the figure. Anyways, moving on to size comparison. Here he is next to Noah, Freezer and Novocaine, Core Class RC, which is another motorcycle transformer, Core Class Shockwave, which will be getting a proper upscale. Can't wait for that. His killer Bumblebee. Here he is alongside other recent Last Night figures, that being Hot Rod, Crosshairs. Here he is next to Cogman, Drift. To throw in some relatives, here he is next to Mainline Barricade. We need a studio series of him. Crankcase. And unfortunately, I don't have Berserker at the moment, but I do have Long Haul. The KSI boss, which, funny enough, both the KSI boss and Long Haul were released in the same wave. They were numbers 42 and 43, of course. And it's funny that they were both released at the same time because it's reminiscing Onslaught and Nitro. I hope we do in fact get remolds of these figures, as they would be really cool. And lastly, I don't have TF5 Megatron, but I do have Galvatron, which is like the only thing next to TF5 Megatron. Where's the studio series? Anyways, the gang's somewhat all here. It's just we're missing Berserker. To be honest, Berserker wasn't even with these guys. For some reason, Megatron was okay with not including Berserker onto his team, but he really wanted Dreadbot. And I thought it funny that Megatron decided to pick some amateur Decepticons at that. Although I kinda wish we got to see more of these guys in action, as they were killed off too quickly, let alone Berserker. But hopefully we get the entire team of Decepticons from the 5th movie into Studio Series figure form. That would be really cool to see Studio Series adaptations of those characters. And it would probably lead to an overall underrated amount of figures from the 5th movie. Hopefully we get more, but so far this is all I've got to reference the Decepticon team from the 5th movie, and it's not too bad. But still, chop chop Hasbro, go ahead and make them. Take my money! Okay, now moving on to transformation, which is quite simplistic. First of all, what you're going to do is move his face down like that, move all of the limbs down, or at least facing downwards like so. Close that in, move it all the way in the back. You do the same thing for the other side. Next, what you're going to want to do is fold in the arms right here, and then there should be a tab right there that will peg into that port right there, and then there should be a port right there that will peg into that tab right there. Alright, let's just close it right there. Same thing for the other side. Oh, and if you do happen to find the head a little bit too high up, make sure you push it all the way down. Next, what you're going to want to do is move the legs up like so. And then I keep on forgetting which slot over here is supposed to tab on into that tab over there, but you're supposed to move it up, leave it out like there. Oh, and make sure you do the same thing for the other side, so that way both of the feet snap in right there. And then what you're going to do is move this down, and I believe it's this port right there that will pick into that slot right there. Make sure that tabs in, and yeah, that's pretty much it. Well, anyways, here's the motorcycle, and I gotta say the painting and sculpting is pretty good. It's supposed to be all gray, and it does a good job covering all the green, except on the bottom. However, that's to be expected though. And for weapon storage, you come back to the knife with that little slot right there. It will peg into that tab right there. You might as well just slide it in right there. And the motorcycle just simply leans onto the... Okay, sometimes it'll just resort to leaning on the other side because this thing is so annoying. Anyways, by tilting the sword somewhat, it does allow for a better method of having the motorcycle lean on the thing. Now, anyways, this motorcycle that Mohawk turns into is a very, very rare motorcycle, as I believe the motorcycle in real life has over, at least I want to say, 21 handmade copies. So yeah, 21, that's pretty crazy. I can see why this motorcycle wasn't around that much during the duration of The Last Night, as it was pretty much too expensive to rent. Oh well, now that Mohawk turns into one, make that 22. Well, sorta. Only the 22nd copy turns into a robot. A very erratic robot at that. And for a brief comparison, here he is alongside another motorcycle, that being Core Class RC. Now, in my review of this figure, I did completely omit the weapon storage for the ult mode part that allows RC to lean, but for some reason that does not work, so it's difficult to do a little comparison. But anyways, here you go. RC's Ducati motorcycles, bigger than whatever you call this thing. By the way, leave a comment down below which motorcycle you like more. RC's motorcycle or Mohawk's. Anyways, I think that's pretty much it. I think that's all I have to say for this guy. Overall, pretty great core class. I recommend you pick him up. especially if you're interested in Bayverse Studio Series figures. I don't know when Hatchet and Drift will come out, nor if Hatch-Out is going to be released. There's a rumor he might not come to fruition. But hopefully that's not the case and Hatchet does come out. Anyways, Hasbro needs to step it up their game and start adding more Bayverse figures, especially from 4 and 5. I'm not sure when they'll make more of those figures, but hopefully they'll eventually come. Anyways, if you like what you saw in this video, be sure to slam that like button, share this with your friends as well, turn on post notifications, that way you don't miss another video. And most importantly, be sure to hit that big red subscribe button. Anyways, I think that's pretty much it. Thanks for watching. See ya!